Good evening and welcome to the WDSU News Hot Seat. I'm Travers Mackel. Tonight we continue our New Orleans City Council debates. Tonight we have a big one, probably the most heated election, the one for City Council at large to replace now District Attorney Jason Williams. 4 people have qualified to run. All of them are here tonight. First off, thank you all for attending. It's very important. They are JP Morrell, former state senator, Councilman Jerry Brossette from District D, Councilwoman Kristen Palmer from District C, and Bart Everson, who's running on the Green Party ticket. We thank you all for being here. Everybody's going to get a chance to make a 30-second opening statement. We're going to do something different. We're going to go reverse alphabetical order since we usually start alphabetically. Mr. Morrell, you have 30 seconds to let people know why you feel you're the best candidate.
Thank you, Travers. I appreciate being invited to speak here tonight. The hot seat's the hottest seat in town, so I'm happy to be here. My name is JP Morrell. I'm a former state senator and now a candidate for New Orleans City Council at large. I'm running because our city faces the same perennial problems it's faced for generations. Too high utilities, crime, streets, affordable housing, economic inequity, and these issues have not been dealt with a sense of urgency that our citizens desperately need. As your next council person at large, I will address these issues like I've addressed many issues at the state level with a sense of urgency and a sense of resolving them in definitive ways. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the debate.
All right. Thank you. Councilwoman Palmer, you have 30 seconds to make an opening statement.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Travis, for having us. You know, I really believe when we look at the at-large position that we have to look at what we've done over the course of time, and especially with the district council. And I think it's really important to show that, you know, I've spent my entire adult life working on quality of life issues within the city, from affordable housing to bringing people home after Katrina, to rebuilding our parks and playgrounds, to focusing on really smart green infrastructure, helping create small businesses throughout the district. And those are the types of things that we need to focus on when we look at citywide. And I'm committed to doing that. I have fought for my district and I want to fight for the entire city.
Thank you very much. Mr. Everson, you're a political newcomer. You have 30 seconds to make an opening statement.
Thanks. Yes, my name is Bart Everson. I'm a concerned citizen, concerned especially about the climate crisis, global warming, as we used to call it. I want to be very clear. This is a threat to our city. It is a threat to the long-term viability of the city of New Orleans. So we need to address this. Scientists say that we can limit the damage if we take bold action now. You know, there's many other issues that the city of New Orleans faces, but if we don't handle climate change, we won't have any other issues to worry about.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Everson. And we're going to wrap up opening statements with you, Councilman Jerry Brossette.
Well, thank you, Travis, for having us. And I'm Jerry Brossette, and I'm running for council member at large Division 2 because I want to continue the leadership and fix the problems that plague a great city. I'm running for council at large because we are having a very difficult time having peace of mind in our streets, and I want to continue working on our public safety measures. I chose to run for at large because our government needs an extreme makeover. I served as your council member for District D, very hands-on, and as your state representative for 2 terms. I have improved the quality of life throughout District D, and I want to continue to provide the great leadership.
All right, I hate to wrap you up. We're going to start the first question with you. It's a pointed question. We're going to start this with you and Ms. Palmer, actually. Unusual move this week. You all endorsed each other. So let me ask you this, because we've gotten a lot of calls and emails about this. If you feel you're the best candidate, Mr. Brossette, running for office, but you don't endorse yourself, why should voters watching this endorse you with their vote? You have 30 seconds to answer that question.
Thank you, Travis, for that question. I feel like I am the best candidate and they should endorse me because, of my experience throughout my government career, starting out as an intern. And I am an honest public servant who has been in a community on the ground, addressing the quality of life's concerns through the land use matters throughout District D. And I have a colleague who believes in my work, and I believe in her work.
And I had to wrap you up. That's about 30 seconds. We're going to, Mr. Everson, we'll get back to you, but Ms. Palmer, if you can address that same question. If you're endorsing somebody else, why should voters endorse you with their vote?
So, because quite frankly, I feel like, of course, I'm the best candidate. I mean, that's why you run for office. But I have also worked with Councilmember Brossette through the past 4 years. And like I said in my opening comments, I think it's very important to have somebody with a district council experience at the at-large position and has been focusing on quality of life issues. And when we look at that moving forward, I think those are the main issues that are plaguing the city, from violent crime to blighted housing. You've seen what we did with the minimum wage. You've seen what we did with STRs. And we don't always agree, but we've created a consensus when we have to move forward, and then it makes a lot of legislation stronger.
All right, Mr. Everson, you're a political newcomer here. Let me ask you a pointed question here. Why should people endorse you or vote for you, given the fact that you don't have the political experience that these other three current and former elected officials have?
Well, I would encourage people to vote for me to indicate that they take the climate crisis seriously. I've talked to a lot of people who know what's going on. They're alarmed about the fact that we're not seemingly doing anything about it, and they feel disempowered. They don't know where the leadership is on this. So vote for me if you're interested in sending a message to the city government that they need to take the climate crisis very seriously and make it at the center of all our policy decisions.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Everson. Mr. Morell, let me ask you this pointed question here. You were in public office a long time, State House, State Senate. Your mother was a city council member. Your father is leaving office as a longtime elected official, clerk of court, and a former state rep before you. Why should people vote for you, given your long past of political history in the city of New Orleans, that it's still plagued with a lot of the problems that have persisted for 20 and 30 years in 30 seconds?
Oh, that's a much lengthier question than you gave everybody else. But to answer it, I've not been involved in city government whatsoever in my entire career of service. I'm on the ballot running for city council because as a citizen, I'm very frustrated with the fact that this city is not better off than it was 8 years ago. And I am a change agent. I am here to promote change and to put the city in a different direction because, as stated, I have never served on the city council or in any capacity in local government whatsoever.
All right, we're going to start this question with Ms. Palmer. Give her a chance to start one off here. The Hard Rock site, it's in your district. What should happen in 30 seconds with that site? Key piece of downtown development. Obviously, the investigation is unfolding right now, but in 30 seconds, what is your plan for the Hard Rock site and the edge of Canal Street?
Well, first, I've taken the hardest stance that there has been from the very beginning about how this site should be dealt with, which is why I yanked their conditional use permit, which means anything above and beyond what they want at that site has to go through an open process and a public process. What happened there cannot be forgotten, and it cannot be repeated. And so we've been legislatively, I've ensured that both of those things will not happen. But if you want to talk about what can happen at that site, again, I think that is why I yanked the conditional use so that we can ensure that the public has input. It's an iconic site. It's at an intersection that's highly important to the economic vitality of the city. And we should ensure that the same thing happens while paying recognition to the importance of the historical of that site.
All right, Mr. Everson, same question, 30 seconds. What's your plan for the Hard Rock site if you're elected to office?
A community-driven process is absolutely the way to go. Any new construction that's undertaken in the city has to be built to the highest standards of energy efficiency, including solar and batteries and things like that, because we know that the city is vulnerable to the increased frequency of hurricanes and so forth as the climate crisis deepens. So that has to be the top priority for all new development.
Mr. Morell, 30 seconds. What is your plan if elected for the Hard Rock site at the edge of Canal Street?
Hard Rock never should have gotten built. The Woolworth Counter, which was a sacred site to civil rights leaders in the city, never should have been torn down. And the council should have listened to the community when they showed up in complete opposition to it happening. Now that it's been done, we can't unring that bell. We cannot put the Woolworth Counter back, but I would certainly make sure that whatever happens there, there's an acknowledgement not only of the tragedy that occurred, but what was taken from the African-American community.
Mr. Brossette, same question, 30 seconds. If you're elected to this at-large post, what is your plan for the Hard Rock site?
Well, 2 words, community engagement. I have experience over my public service career of bringing people together. I'll bring people together from Lafitte, the Vous Carré Commission, VC Pora, and French Quarter citizens to engage them on what they would like to see going forward. And that's what public service is about, bringing people to the government table, which is the people's table. And I look forward to working with them as the next at-large member.
All right, let's jump to a big topic right now. A big talker in the city, trash pickup. Mr. Everson, we're going to start this question with you. In 30 seconds, does the city have to completely redo how it picks up people's trash? Because this persisted longer than Ida. In a nutshell, in 30 seconds, what is your plan for garbage pickup and really the debacle that people are dealing with the city of New Orleans?
It is a travesty, and I think that a complete redo is in order. The situation, we talk about this being a labor shortage, but what a lot of activists and workers see is a wage shortage. So we need to definitely pay the people who are doing the work better, but we need to, I think, rebid the contracts. And going to a once a week pickup seems reasonable to me as well.
All right, Mr. Morrell, what is your plan if elected for garbage pickup in the city of New Orleans? It impacts really every neighborhood.
Well, I mean, I'm the only candidate on this forum that's actually slung trash and seen what hoppers go through. The hoppers have been on strike as a union since May of 2020, and the city and the council did absolutely nothing to resolve that issue. I'm actually surprised that the wheels came off the truck only after Ida. What I would do is engage the union that is on strike and resolve all their issues, not just wage. That's certainly an issue, but they don't have the necessary PP or equipment to even do the work. So the city and the council have to get completely engaged in the middle of this contract going forward with whoever has it and say, these things are necessary. And we are a progressive city. We need to be working with the union that is still on strike today.
All right, Mr. Brossette, 30 seconds with that question. I know that obviously you led the charge to help suspend people's sanitation fees. In 30 seconds, what is your plan if elected to an at-large position to help with the garbage pickup?
Well, thank you, Travis. I'll continue leading the charge and, finish the job on the legislative side. I took the charge on in the summertime when this was an issue before Hurricane Ida. Look, this is one of the pillars of government, public safety and sanitation and health. This has to be fixed and get corrected. I am filing an ordinance to take the sanitation fee from $24 down to $12 and cut it in half. Once a week pickup, we should not be paying double. So I look forward to continuing to work, and I have volunteered to trash pickup in the 7th Ward just a few weeks ago.
All right, and Ms. Palmer, in 30 seconds, if you're elected as a citywide official here, what is your plan for garbage pickup?
Well, I'm so glad everyone's talking trash now, especially considering, we've been picking up and dealing with trash issues and illegal dumping. And I've been setting up community cleanups all my entire 4 years, not just around election time. I also think when we look at these contracts, they were inherited, which is we have to make that very clear, and they should absolutely be rebid. And we should also make them stronger in terms of subcontracts. If one of the garbage disposal people had, paid the hoppers as much as they paid politicians, then we probably wouldn't be having this issue right now. And so we also have to make sure that we hold the contracts accountable by ensuring that they receive more than just a livable wage.
All right, we're going to start this question with Mr. Morrell. It's probably the biggest topic right now, besides trash pickup, besides Ida, besides COVID, crime in the city of New Orleans. When you were in the legislature, you helped lead the charge on having jury verdicts unanimous in this state. In 30 seconds, I know it's hard to get to in 30 seconds. In 30 seconds, what is your plan to stop the violence? Is it more cops? Is it more prosecutions? 30 seconds, what is your plan, Mr. Morrell?
There's simply no way you can illustrate a plan to solve the city of New Orleans crime problem in 30 seconds. However, I'm the only candidate who produced a 12-page plan on how to fix crime. It involves dealing with things like dealing with historical inequities, providing more resources to the youth to avoid juvenile crime, and revamping and revisioning our police force. That plan can be found at jpmorrell.com/platforms, and it is very in-depth and addresses all the issues.
All right, Mr. Brossette, same question. What is your plan to address crime in the city of New Orleans? You've been on the council for a couple of years now. How do we move forward with crime that's plaguing the city?
Well, it's a multi-pronged approach, Travers. Right now, we are about to, as budget chair, we are going to appropriate money to invest back into the New Orleans Police Department from the cut. 1,000 police officers is not going to cut it. We need to enhance recruitment. I am committed to 15 to 1600 as seen in my crime plan. We have to focus on the critical ills that face our juveniles. I am promoting the family therapy model to promote family clinical technicians in the homes to promote mental health.
And I hate to wrap. We're gonna have more. I hate to wrap you up. Ms. Palmer, if you can, 30 seconds. What is your plan to stop violent crime in the city of New Orleans?
Well, first off, we don't need just a plan, we need action. And a lot of the things that in that proposed plan have already been what the city council has been acting on. We need mental health interrupters. We've had over 9,000 calls to service last year alone that were mental health calls. We should have social workers who are trained in crisis management and resolution in order to do that. That's what the council's working on now. We started underneath my watch an early reporting center dealing and targeting youth so that they're not criminalized, but they're given the wraparound services that they need. As at large, I'm going to expand that both in New Orleans East and in Algiers. We also have to solve crime. If we solve crime, we can prevent crime. And right now we have an abysmal solve rate, which is unconscionable to the victims and to the citizens of this city.
All right, Mr. Everson, 30 seconds. If elected, what is your plan to stop violent crime in the city of New Orleans?
Travers, I'm in my 50s, and it seems like my entire life, what we've done is fiddled around with the making minor changes to our so-called criminal justice system. And the result is predictably minor fluctuations in the rates of crime. If we want to see real radical change, we have to make radical changes. I propose that we implement a universal basic income to eliminate poverty directly, that we legalize drugs and focus on treatment instead of interdiction, and that we invest fully in education, which is the most radical proposition of all.
All right, 30 seconds for this question. Mr. Brossette, Entergy appears to want out from under regulation by the city council. You regulate them, so does Councilwoman Palmer, as well as your colleagues on the council. Is that a good idea, bad idea? How should the city move forward regulating Entergy, which has had problems during past storms, in 30 seconds?
Thank you, Travis. I think we have to continue to be aggressive with Entergy New Orleans as the regulator body. I have done that through investigations into their distribution system. I think it's a bad idea per se if they were to go to the Public Service Commission. We only have one representative, and that's our member Commissioner
Lambert Bossier. Yeah.
And we cannot trust that the other commissioners at the Public Service Commission are going to have our best interests because transmission pricing zones, we don't want those costs to fall on our ratepayers.
No, you're exactly right. I got Ms. Palmer, 30 seconds. What is your plan? Should Entergy stay under control of the City Council of New Orleans? What's your plan for Entergy if elected parish-wide?
Well, first off, we have to really look at, any type of option. Like you brought up, I think that was the initial question, right? And if that's the case, we have to also look at what is the most equitable for the ratepayers. And in addition to not just the equity in our ratepayers, but also how are we going to harden our infrastructure and make sure that we can work towards a carbon neutral system. And that is something that we have to really be in the forefront of any conversation that we're having. I also believe within our Curio office that it needs to be beefed up regardless of either situation and have greater transparency to the public.
Okay, thank you. 30 seconds, Mr. Everson. How should the council, if you're elected, move forward regulating or not regulating Entergy?
This is the single biggest issue regarding the climate crisis. The single most important policy that I've recommended is that we have to hold Entergy accountable, and everything has to be on the table at this point, including everything from deprivatization to demonopolization or both.
All right, Mr. Morell, same thing, same question. What is your plan for Entergy if elected?
Well, I think that certainly I would agree with Councilmember Rossett that I think that moving them to the Public Service Commission is a terrible idea. The city of New Orleans is constantly plagued by efforts of the legislature to disenfranchise it, and that would happen at the utility level. However, I have not given up on the idea that the council needs to actually regulate energy. We are the most progressive city in the United States, one of the most progressive, and the council has a unique ability to regulate energy on all fields. And the fact that we have not made enough efforts to push and and heighten renewable energy. The fact that the council has not been good fiduciary agents with ratepayers, and that rates are so high, the council approves all rates. They need to be better fiduciary agents and give greater scrutiny to when energy tries to get rate increases.
All right. Unfortunately, we're at about the 20-minute mark. There's a lot more we could get to, but we are out of time. I know you all have your platforms, websites, social media. We're going to do closing statements. We're going to go back. Since we started reverse alphabetically, we'll do alphabetically. Mr. Brossette, you can start us off. You have 30 seconds to let people know why you feel you are the best candidate for this at-large seat.
Thank you, Travis. And I feel that I'm the best candidate for the at-large seat because of I'm passionate and I love this city. I am more committed than ever to solving our issues that face our city. People are hurting. They need opportunity. They need access. I have served now 20 years in public service, starting out as an intern, putting myself through college as a child of a single mother. And I am asking for your prayers and support as your next at-large member, number 33, Jared Brossette, for council at large.
Thank you, Councilman. Mr. Everson, 30 seconds to make a closing statement.
Hurricane Ida absolutely has to have been our wake-up call. The rapid intensification of Ida was caused because the Gulf of Mexico is hotter than ever, which is caused by global warming, which is caused by air pollution produced by humans. So the next council is going to be dealing with the deepening of this crisis. And we need, whoever wins this election, we have to hold them accountable for action on climate and climate justice.
All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Morrell, you have 30 seconds to make a closing statement.
My name's JP Morrell. I'm a state senator, former state senator, and a candidate for New Orleans City Council at large. I'm running because, simply put, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Ladies and gentlemen, if you believe the city is in a great place, if you believe in the last 8 years that we have seen significant progress from where things are, if you're making more money, if your utility bills are lower, if crime isn't the best place it's been, then there are candidates in this race that you can vote for. I am not that candidate. If you really believe that there needs to be a change from the way things have been, if you believe that we need to go in a different direction from the way things have been, I am your change agent. I am your voice, your new voice on the council to take things in a radically different direction. You can follow me at jpmorrell.com. My socials are jpmorrell, and my platform is at jpmorrell.com/platforms.
We're going to finish with you, Councilwoman. You have 30 seconds, and we are really tight on time. So if you could do it in 30 seconds, that would be ideal.
Thank you so much. I'm the daughter of a federal prosecutor, former federal prosecutor, school teacher. I'm one of 8 children. My life has been rooted in service to the community, and I've done that my entire life, working in hand with neighbors across the city to rebuild housing, to rebuild our parks and playgrounds, to work to everybody in the city deserves to live in a safe, beautiful neighborhood that has infrastructure and resources. And I have fought every day in my adult life towards that end. And I promise as your next at large that I will continue that fight.
All right. Thank you very much. JP Morrell, former state senator. Council members Jared Brossette and Kristen Palmer and Bart Everson, we appreciate your time. That's all the time that we have for the hot seat. I'm Travers Mackle. You can see this entire segment online starting tomorrow.